Big story from Jordan Bianchi and Jeff Gluck on the NASCAR labor situation. We get a timeline on Erik Jones' return, and we got some other stuff to talk about too. Let's get into it. Coming up next. What's going on, everybody? Hope you're doing good today. All right, the NASCAR labor situation, just as murky as it always was, but we got this nice article explaining exactly where we're at and what's going on from Jeff Gluck and Jordan Bianchi at The Athletic, so let's jump into that. Inside NASCAR's unsettled charter negotiations, we're not aligned, and that's not good. We come from a different world of sports where if you want to meet with the commissioner is going to meet with you, said Curtis Polk, Jordan's longtime financial and business manager, because at the end of the day, the commissioner basically works for the teams and the team owners. This is totally 180 degrees different, so you have to wrap your head around that and realize the league doesn't feel like they work for us. The league doesn't necessarily feel they're partners with us. The league doesn't necessarily feel like pulling in the same direction because that's the best direction for all of us as a whole. We're not aligned, and that's not good. So that is Curtis Polk. He is obviously with 2311 and sort of manages all that. And they bring up an interesting point. NASCAR is different from other sports where they have leagues, where other sports teams, they're part of a league, right? NASCAR is a solely owned property, and you can race in NASCAR if you want to, with or without a charter. But if you have this charter, you have certain perks. But it's not like outright owning a team, and let's say the NBA, because I'm sure that's what they're talking about here. It's not like owning a team in the NBA where you say, hey, we want to have this meeting and we all have to come together, because in that particular situation, the team owners own the league, right? It's a team owner collective, and the commissioner is appointed, and the commissioner works for them. NASCAR is the exact opposite. NASCAR owns the sport, and the teams work for NASCAR, so it is, like he said, a 180-degree different type of professional sports model. However, where it gets a little bit murky and a little bit different is the charters. The charters have basically unionized the teams, and it is thrown just a different, just sort of a curveball. I still don't understand necessarily why NASCAR did it, other than to maybe attract some new people to come in here and buy charters or something like that. But it basically, you unionized all of your teams. So now you have a union to deal with if you're NASCAR of your own creation, really. But France has been meeting with other teams, those willing to accept an invitation to one-on-one sessions, thereby avoid the Race Team Alliance, a coalition of NASCAR teams, including 2311, and its preferred team negotiation committee. A meeting with 2311, including Jordan, could happen in the coming weeks. So to clarify what that particular quote from the article is about, NASCAR and Jim France will not meet with the Race Team Alliance, the Total Negotiation Committee, or whatever they've got going on over there. The TNC is what they're calling it. I forget exactly what it is. It was actually in that quote, but I just can't remember it off the top of my head because I'm dumb. But they will not meet with all the teams together, but they have been meeting with teams individually. And this is classic union breaking. I said NASCAR basically created a union with the charters. This is classic union breaking. They're trying to break the union. The way to weaken a union is to get in there and meet individually with certain people and to create a division in that union. And that is what NASCAR is doing here. It is a classic move. If you've ever studied labor or anything like that, or if you've even worked in a factory or worked in something where you have a labor union, you know for sure you never meet individually. You always want to meet as a group or send your representative up there to have the meetings. But the fact that NASCAR is meeting individually with teams and sort of what they're really doing is sowing in strife and trying to break up essentially that union that they created. And that is not good if you're the race teams, right? You're actually weakening, in my opinion, you're actually weakening your position by meeting individually with NASCAR. What needs to happen is you either meet with us as a whole, if you want a strong union, you either meet with us as a whole, or you don't meet with us at all. We're not going to meet with you individually. And NASCAR has taken the exact opposite stance. We're not going to meet with you as a collective, but we will meet with you individually. So the Race Team Alliance, if they really want to get serious about this, and I hate to say that because this could, further tense things up and it could end up badly. But if they want to actually keep that alliance strong and together, they actually need to draw a hard line in the sand and say, unless you meet with all of us, you're not going to meet with any of us. And then you actually have to have the teams all agree to do that. So In my opinion, it looks like NASCAR is winning here because the teams are meeting with NASCAR individually, and they're using, like I said, classic union breaking techniques here. You'll also remember a few weeks ago, Steve O'Donnell said, hey, we're close to an agreement. Things are really close, and we think we're going to get something done here pretty soon. Well, that was debated here. That assertion was immediately challenged and disputed by some teams, but not all. For this story, The Athletic spoke with the owners and or top executives of more than half of the 15 chartered organizations over the last week about the fraught topic of the current state of negotiations. So there you go. They spoke with 15 of the chartered teams, and the fact that some of those 15 teams are disagreeing with thinking that the agreement is close, that tells you pretty much, in my opinion, what you need to know. They have sewn in some division, but it looks like at least some of these teams are trying to hold strong to their principle of having this union and getting the things that they want. Speaking of the things that they want, what are the things that are holding up this negotiation? Teams have been asking NASCAR to address 4 pillars that are important to them: increased revenue to help the team support their operations, making the charters permanent, having a voice in NASCAR decisions to avoid unexpected cost increases, and a share of revenue from new business opportunities. So there you go. Those are the 4 main things that they're arguing about. They want control over some of NASCAR's decisions because it affects them financially. They want more money. And I think the biggest sticking point is the charters, which the article addressed a little bit later here. We're basically tenants in an apartment building, Polk said. We have these charters and they give us certain rights, and we have responsibilities because of the rights they give us. But at a certain date, which right now is December 31st, 2024, we have no further rights to renew, and the charters could be taken away from us. Could you imagine if Jerry Jones had to periodically renew his Dallas Cowboys franchise, Polk said? How would you want to invest long-term in a venture like that? Would you invest the kind of money that gets invested in these other sports if you were a tenant who didn't have rights after a certain date? And that goes back to exactly what I was talking about at the very beginning of this. NASCAR owns the series and the teams work for NASCAR, whereas other sports leagues, the teams own basically the series and the commissioner works for them. How this is going to play out, I don't see this getting resolved very quickly. Like, I hate to throw cold water on this, but I don't see this particular issue getting resolved very quickly, because it's not like NASCAR is going to give up any control. They have no reason to give up any control. The teams, now that they've basically been unionized, have no reason to give up control. So the charter issue is going to be the issue that holds this whole thing up. I could 100% see NASCAR just pulling the charters all together, just saying to heck with the charters. It's created more headaches than it has anything else. And going back to the old system, which a lot of fans would like anyway, because it gives you that old school dream of some dude can just build a chassis in his backyard or whatever, or in this particular situation, the current climate, buy a chassis and put all the stuff on it in your backyard, and you would still get the same payouts, whereas the charters have this tiered structure of payouts where, you know, mom and pop teams don't get the same money. So some fans would like that. But this issue of basically trying to turn NASCAR into what the NFL and the NBA are business-wise, not like product on the field, although it can be argued they're trying to be too much like the NFL. They're trying to create this thing where the teams have a bigger say in NASCAR, and it's more of a 50-50 partnership at the very least. So it would still be unique, but it would be more like the stick and ball sports, where the teams have a say and their union means something. But as of right now, it seems like, at least the way NASCAR is playing it, it seems like they're not respecting the Race Team Alliance by literally not meeting with them and meeting with the teams individually. So it looks like NASCAR is intent on keeping its control of the sport. And like I said, I think the owners that said, I don't think we're close to a deal, I think they're probably being more honest than the owners who say we are close to a deal. And they're probably being more honest than NASCAR saying they're close to a deal. Because if they take these charters away, as Polk is pointing out here in this particular thing, what reason would you have to invest in your team? Like, if you know you're not going to have a guaranteed, because the reason you buy the charter is you have a guaranteed starting spot every Sunday, right? What point, and you're basically a partner with NASCAR, right? If you have no say and you're just spending money on this charter, and this charter could be taken away from you at any time, What reason do you have to invest the type of money like they said here, like a Jerry Jones would invest in the Cowboys, if you know at any given point you could have this property taken away from you, this property being the charter taken away from you? So a lot of valid good points here, and I can actually see where NASCAR is coming from because they want to retain control and get all that money, and I can see where the race teams are coming from, and that's what I'm saying. I don't see this getting settled as quickly as NASCAR and Steve O'Donnell would have us believe right now. But yeah, interesting article. Go give it a look. It's on The Athletic, a great article, so check it out. But yeah, let's get on to the next story. Darlington is definitely a goal for sure. At the latest to be back, Jones said. I would love, obviously, to come back next week at Kansas. We will take some more scans, see how the back is healing, and make sure it's healing good and the way they want to. And again, how I'm feeling every day, as long as I'm feeling better and better, I feel like I can get in and do some simulator work to get some motion on my back and see how it feels. There isn't much he can do when it comes to rehab other than walking. I've been taking, obviously, some supplements, trying to get the backbone strong and drawn back as quick as I can, Jones said. A lot of it is rest. It's going to be a wait and see. That's from Bob Pockris at Fox Sports, and that is on Erik Jones. He said it looks like the latest possible he would be back would be Darlington, so he will be there for Darlington. Of course, that is always important of note because he is really good at Darlington, and even in the off year for Petty last year, he still had a top 5 over there at Darlington, so a lot of people are expecting him to have a really good shot to win that race. So having him in that race car at Darlington is definitely got to be a priority for Legacy Motor Club. So, good to see he is doing everything he can to get back, and hopefully he'll be back, hopefully, like he said, before Darlington. But we know for sure, according to Erik Jones, it looks like at least by Darlington he will be back. So we do have an update on that timeline. All right, let's look at a couple of paint schemes that got released today because they are interesting. Alex Bowman going to throw back to Jimmy Johnson, the number 48 Ally car, painted up like the 48 Lowe's car of yesteryear. And you see this really good looking Castrol paint scheme from Brad Keselowski, and it's throwing back that you see right here, probably the most second famous GT Supra. Or just Supra, I should say, because, the one from the Fast and the Furious got to be the most famous Supra of all time, right? Brian O'Connor, the Buster, Brian Earl Spillner, whatever you want to call him, Paul Walker, rest in peace. But yeah, that's got to be the most famous Supra of all time. But really good looking paint schemes for Darlington, so wanted to end on that one. All right, that's all I got for you on this one. If you made it this far, I would love to have your subscription. If not, I'll keep making these things. If you're already subscribed, I appreciate you all as well. If you want to visit the merch store, the link is down in the description. We got t-shirts, hats, stickers, and probably some other stuff that I'm forgetting. Sweatshirts, that's the other thing I'm forgetting. And other than that, thanks for your time. Peace. If you want to leave a question, comment, or anything like that, I'll try to get to as many of them as I can, as I always do. All right. Peace again.